Hello and welcome to Library Drawing Party. Today we're going to be drawing this beautiful flower. To get started, we're going to be taking our purple colored pencil and working on the center of the flower. So we're going to draw these lines that are curved coming out of the center, and then we have a petal that wraps around the yellow center. I'm going to draw that half circle with a slight curved edge in the bottom, and then I'm going to draw in my purple lines. Careful to leave some highlights. Now for the center of the flower, we're going to be taking our yellow colored pencil and adding a circle right around the petal that we just drew. And you want the lightest part to be in the center, and then it gets darker yellow as it works out towards the middle of the flower. Let's put our yellow aside and go back and take our dark purple and add in the petals. This flower is really light. Almost reminds me of silk, the way that the fabric almost like floats across the page. So we want these lines that we're creating to be light and airy and full of movement. So we're going to have all of these ruffles and folds, and we want it to be nice organic shapes. You don't want to have too much control. We don't want this to be alright. So I drew my first petal. That's this one on here. Then I'm going to draw this back petal behind it. And I'm just going to outline the shape of some of the petals next to it. Then I'm going to go in and add these ruffles. It's going to add color to my petal. You have a bit of a shadow here. There's some folds this way, that. And you want the tips to have some color. So you can add in some overall background color. Then it fades as it gets towards the yellow center. And we have this big petal with lots of half circles. I'm going to fill those half circles in. Add in some more folds. And I'm going to draw another back petal and a front petal. Comes all the way down to the center. And what makes this flower so interesting is all of these little details. We really want to take our time to add in the lines, make sure that each petal looks unique. We have some shadow here, a half circle. And then this petal is coming out from underneath. Every flower in nature is going to look different, so if yours looks different than mine, that's perfectly normal. And let's work on this horizontal petal. They all have curved lines with pointed edges. And then we have some more curved lines inside. Then an inner petal which meets up with the petal that's coming out front by this yellow center. And then a petal directly behind. With some shadow underneath. And let's go back up to the top and start working on the left hand side. We have these points that come over to the side. And then there's almost S shapes inside the petals here. And there's back petal and a front petal. This petal seems to have one coming out in front of it. And draw those lines. And then we have a thinner petal here. Or shorter petal. And then finally this larger petal down at the bottom. This small petal out front. I'm going to take my red, I'm going to add in some highlights here near the center. Maybe in some of the petals for some variation in the color. This will help make some of those lines that we drew pop. I'm going to go back and take my yellow and add in some more highlights on the center petals near the center of the flower. I'm going to really bring out that yellow color. And I'm going to take my green, I'm going to draw in my stem. And it has a bit of a jagged edge here. And then we'll draw the leaf in the corner. I'm drawing a light base coat because we're going to be layering brown on top. This way we get that nice oval shape for our leaf. I'm going to take my brown and I'm going to add in some darker tones to my stem. And I'm going to add in some brown shadow to my leaf. I'm going to add in some veins to this leaf. I'm going to add in some shadow around the edges. To give it a slightly warmer tone, I'm going to use some yellow. I'm going to color right over our base coat. And same thing for our upper leaf. I'm going to take my green and go back over that. Especially for the stem, I want this to be a nice rich color. And lightly over the leaves. And then lightly over this leaf. With some variation in the color. So some parts are going to be darker than others. Now to really lock in that yellowish green color, I'm going to take a sand tone colored pencil and use that to finish blending my stem. And I'm going to also use it to blend the leaf a bit more. And I'm going to use it to blend this upper leaf as well. And I'm going to take my black and I'm going to start to fill in the background. You can go ahead and use the full force of your pencil for this. Some other options include black pen, black permanent marker, charcoal. If you're using charcoal though, just be forewarned that it can be pretty messy. So make sure you're following the method that I'm doing right now, where you work from one side to the other. If you're left-handed, you're going to want to work from the right side to the left. For right-handed people, you work from the left side to right. That way, if the color starts to get on your hand, it won't cover up the flower that you've worked so hard to create. We're using black for the background because it's going to have some nice contrast for this water lily, and also it can show that it's at a really deep lake or river or pond. And it really makes those light colors that we use stand out. You could try experimenting with other colors in the background. You could use a really dark purple or a really dark blue. Doing a really deep violet might help bring out the purple of the flower. And blue will help emphasize water. You could try creating patterns in the water. Maybe you want to have ripples beneath it. Maybe you even want to see some fish in the background. You could try drawing some of those koi fish that we drew in one of our other videos. You could try experimenting with different fish. This could be a great opportunity to go to your local lake or river and take a good look at how the water is reflected. Maybe you want to have some clouds in the background, or maybe there's seaweed or algae or other plant life besides our beautiful water lily. Maybe you want to have multiple water lilies and have two of them side by side. Maybe you want to zoom out a bit more and have a bunch of smaller water lilies on your page. Lots of different options. You could change the time of day. Maybe you want this to be during the middle of the day when everything is really bright and the water is very blue. I'm making a choice to have all my lines go vertical. You could try doing horizontal lines or diagonal lines. The more you keep your lines going in one direction, the more peaceful the atmosphere of the water will be. But if you want there to be some wind, or if you have any of the animals that we were talking about before, you might want to have some more movement with your lines. Have some squiggly lines, have them going in many different directions. You want to make sure that your color is even across too. So if a spot needs more color, you can just adjust that as you go along. If you're looking for more inspiration on flower paintings or drawings in our collection at the library, and we have lots of artists in books. We have books written about artists that are audiobooks. We have their collected works available. We have information about artists in our databases. There's lots of research that can be done if you're looking to find out more about how flowers portrayed throughout the centuries. Well, be careful when you're putting in the background color that you're mindful of where the petals are, because it's easy to cover them up by accident. But you do want to go right up to the edge. We don't want to see any of the original background. And there you have it. That's our water lily. Thank you for joining us in this week's library drawing party. We have library drawing parties every Wednesday at 7 p.m. and keep being creative.